MTN falls 19% after Nigeria orders return of $8 billion dividends. South Africa launches electronic trading platform for government bonds. Plus, Germany wants to speed up African development to curb migration. Thank you for joining us on Business Incorporated. I'm Chimizi Obi Iwawu. We'll get the show started now with the markets. And Nigeria and South African markets were down at intraday 0.40% and 0.73% each. Egypt, on the other hand, was up 1.03% and Kenya closed in the red on Wednesday. In the Middle East, only the Saudi Arabia was looking red at intraday. Others, Abu Dhabi up 0.48%, Dubai up 0.29%, and Qatar went up by 0.52%. And in Europe, stocks were lower in early trade as investors continued to monitor global trade talks and corporate earnings. Well, my colleague in Frankfurt, Paul Braids, has details to give us. Good afternoon, Paul.
Hey, good afternoon.
So tell me, emerging markets are getting hard hit. Venezuela seems beyond repair. Turkey's lira is dropping. Now Argentina is asking for help from the IMF. What is going on?
Yes, well, the alarm bells are ringing with investors concerned about emerging markets. Some analysts have warned that this might grow into a global emerging market crisis. Actually, the risks are getting bigger day by day. Venezuela, of course, is completely out of any hope at this point. But if we look at it, Turkey dropped first 40% in the lira. And then now Argentina, the peso is going down strongly. It's also hit the Indian rupee and now the South African rand. Of course, what all these currencies have in common, or these countries have in common, is their dependence on U.S. money and U.S. debt. In Turkey, it's the private sector. In Argentina, it's the government. And with U.S. interests rising, and a strong economy that is pointing towards more rising interest rates, people are withdrawing their money from those risky investments in emerging markets and moving it to the U.S. Looking at the balance sheets, you know, who's got the largest negative balance in there, and then pulling their money out of there first, which is now hurting Argentina, so that it has asked the IMF to step in with a loan that they had already agreed on anyway. But now Argentina wants an advance on that in order to try and give people hope and faith again that things are going to improve, although they don't look very well with inflation at 20%, projected at 30% right now, and everything is getting more expensive per people.
Okay, let's look at the latest on the car market. Now, latest report says UK production slumped 11% last month as Jaguar Land Rover announced plans to cut 4,000 jobs in the UK and move facility to Slovakia. Bad news for UK, but how should European car makers leverage this?
Yes, the slump seems especially hard because the previous month was a pretty strong one. But of course, Brexit worries are moving jobs and are moving production to the future European market. For Land Rover, it's going to be the first non-UK plant, so it has access to that European market and possibly to a global market for the consideration of its well, mother, so to say, Tata. 80% of the current UK cars are made for export, so that is a concern, of course. Land Rover is going to be in good company. Volkswagen is already producing in Slovakia, also PSA, Peugeot, Citroën, and Kia. However, that doesn't mean the UK is completely out of the picture. Other companies have said they want to continue to produce models there, or have recently committed to producing them there. BMW, for example, Toyota and Nissan, they're still betting on that. If it is any consolation to the UK, Aston Martin is definitely planning to stay. They're even floating the idea of floating shares on the London Stock Exchange, so that's at least some positive news here.
All right, in other news, Chancellor Angela Merkel is in Africa, of course Senegal as we speak, with other touchdowns in Ghana and of course here in Nigeria. How is DW covering this trip, and what are your expectations on the business and economy side of things?
We have, of course, a very close eye on that at DW in both our news, television, and our business segments. Also with our correspondent, Fani Fachar in Abuja. And you can always look the latest up on DW.com, especially tomorrow when Angela Merkel is going to be in Nigeria. The expectations, she has in tow 12 CEOs, and she's trying to show them that Africa might be worth the investment. You know, putting in more money, that's always more likely if people actually see what the situation is like there. And the hope, of course, is that economic development in these African nations will help to improve the situation for people, so that in turn they won't want to leave but stay there, thereby curbing illegal migration to Europe.
Well, Paul, Fanny actually told us she will be paying us a visit here on Channels Television, and we're looking forward to hosting her. So I look forward to meeting her. Thank you for your time, Paul.